So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's our official greeting for global mentorship program session because you guys coming to attend to the session from all over the world. And I just wanted to ask all of you to mute yourself because we want to have our session peacefully. Just wanted to mention that today gonna be our fourth global mentorship session, and it's a final last online meeting. So just wanted to say thank you for all the Chevening scholars who has been committed to the process volunteeringly. And yeah, I mean, as if you are attending for the global mentorship program first time, just wanted to mention that I am already last 3 year global mentorship program leader. And yeah, I mean, we had a lot of generation that are Chevening scholar or most of the volunteer speaker who has been with us. They have been already part of the global mentorship program last year or the previous years. So let's start. Can you please move to the next slide? Yes. Today, the previous one. I wanted to say thank you for our brilliant Chevening scholars for being with us. I always saying that without any volunteering activities, unfortunately, I won't be able to be that active or organize some kind of sessions to help the new generation. And today we have also amazing three speakers that are with us. Can you briefly introduce, please, yourself? Annie, go ahead. You're the first in the picture.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Njoroge. I come from Kenya. I am a 2024-2025 Chevening scholar. I'm studying at the University of Dundee. I'm doing a Master's of Law in the low carbon just energy transition. And I'm happy to be here and I'm looking forward to the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lana, go ahead.
Hi everyone. I don't know if my picture is showing. My name is Lana Barghouthi. I'm from Palestine. I'm achieving for this year's. I'm studying commercial arbitration at Queen Mary University of London.
Thank you so much. And Yvann, I don't know if I pronounce your name correctly, so if not, please forgive me.
It's Yvann. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Yvann, go ahead, please. Sorry.
No, don't worry. So yeah, I am Yvann. I'm a visual activist and photographer from Ivory Coast. So yeah, I've been doing photography for the past 4 to 5 years, and I'm studying at Royal College of Art in London.
Thank you so much. And again, guys, I'm very appreciate your time. I know some of you have some important meeting today. So again, thank you for being here with me and to be ready to share your interview experience to new generation. So we can just officially move to our presentation part. And Lana, go ahead. First slide is about you. Floor is for you.
Hi everyone. Nice to meet you and good evening or good morning. It depends on your time in your country. First, congratulations for being in this steps. Being a shortlisted in Chevening is a huge achievement for you. Like being shortlisted in a very prestigious scholarship like Chevening and very competitive one is a very good achievement for you. Today, I will give you some tips according to my experience because I was shortlisted for 2 times for the last year and the one before the last year. So I will be sharing my experience and how I prepared for my interview for the 2 years. I will start first with like being shortlisted means that you have a lot of stress and a lot of things to think about during your and to prepare for your interview, especially if there's a lot of time to be prepared, like 2 months or less than 2 months. So you will be so stressed thinking about what you want to do and how you'll answer your questions, how you will be prepared for the interview, and if there's any specific question that you need to be prepared for. So, from my opinion and from my experience, the first thing that you need to be prepared for is the mental preparations, because you need to be mentally prepared for this experience, because being in this step, like reaching these steps, among a lot of like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who applied for Chevening is a good things for you. So you need to trust yourself. You need to appreciate that you are here today. So the first thing is you must have a positive mindset. Like during your preparations for the interview, like you need to repeat in your mind that you are prepared, you are confident, you are capable, and you will inspire the panel. So you need to have a positive mindset to overcome this interview and to do the best of your performance. The second thing is you need to manage anxiety and nervousness, because like managing this will help you to manage the anxiety during the interview. And the most things that will benefit you to overcome this is to practice under pressure. Like you need to simulate the interview environment by presenting to your friend or your mentor, because the more you expose yourself to the pressure, the more comfortable you will be and you will feel during the interview. And the third thing is develop your mental resilience, because you need to be prepared for the structure of the interview. You need to be prepared for the tough questions and how to answer for the follow-up questions, how the process of the interview. All of these things will help you to have like a mental resilience during the interview. And the fourth thing is focus on your present moment, which means that you need just to think about what you will do during the interview and not to think about if you have any mistakes during the interview. Don't think about it, overcome it, because you will do the interview and then it will finish and it depends on the panel decision. And the sixth thing is to stay, the fifth thing is to stay motivated and to understand that you will get this you will get this scholarship if you have like a positive mindset. If you think that yes, like to repeat in your mind, yes, I will get this. Don't think in a negative way, because if you think in a negative way, because we have a lot of time after the interview, like 2 months or more, it depends on your interview date. So you just need to repeat like in your mind that I will get this interview, because it depends on your positive mindset, and this will affect on your mental health a lot. The second thing that I will talk about is the application revisions, which is you have to know your story inside out. Like the first thing after you receive the interview email, you need to book for a date for the interview, and after that you will be know how many times do you need or how many days do you need to prepare for the interview. So the first thing you must do is to have an application revision. You need to read and reread the four essays like multiple times to to understand and to remember what what you wrote in your essays. So the first things, and I assume that all of you like read and reread the application and the essays a lot of times. So you need to start with the leadership essay, and to start to think about the examples that you demonstrate your leadership skills. For me, during my 2 years interview, I remember that the first interview I did, they asked me to mention an example about my leadership and my networking skills out of my examples that I mentioned in my essays. So my advice is to be prepared for this question, to not be stressed. So if you prepared like another example, external example, not the one that you mentioned in your essay, then you will not be stressed during the interview, and you will prepared, and you will answer in a comfortable way. You need to structure your representation and your answers. I remember during my experience, I used the style approach, which is the situation, task, action, result, and I mentioned during my examples the lessons that I learned from my experience, because they want to hear what did you learn from this experience. So my advice for you is to mention the lesson that you have learned from this experience during your interview. And the last thing is the follow-up questions. What I did to manage the follow-up questions is like I put the examples of each exam. I put a questions on each example that I want to mention during my interview, and I started to read every word of it. And I have an assumption that maybe they will ask me about this. Maybe if I mention this, they will ask me a follow-up question. So you need to be prepared for everything you are gonna mention during your interview, because you will have absolutely a follow-up question if this is not clear for them. So be prepared. Read your essays, read your examples carefully, and have an assumption. If I mention this, they will ask me this. So be prepared for everything and every word you're gonna mention during your interview.
Sorry, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I am Mariam Saganelitsa.
Hi, Mariam. We have a QA question. If it's not an emergency question, we
Okay,
have
okay.
a.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Okay.
Okay. I will mention something about the process of the interview, because maybe it's the first time for most of you. So when you enter the interview room, the first thing you will be asked about your passport. If it's online or like in a room, they will ask you about your passport. So don't forget to get it with you when you are going to the interview. Then they will start with the introduce yourself example question, which is like a stable question. They ask you before starting the discussion of the fourth essays. You need to I remember that I introduced myself by mentioning my name, my study, my age, how I demonstrate my leadership to become a lawyer, and how my communication skills helped me. So this gave them an insight about how I have a leadership and communication skills that make me outstand during or among my colleagues in my work, to have a good position in my work. But I didn't just focus on my academic or my professional career, my professional way. I also mentioned the things that I did outside my work or away from my study, like doing hiking or reading books. And I link this with the things that I'm looking forward to do in the UK. And I finished this question with mentioning that having this into being part of Chevening community and being part of this prestigious scholarship will help me to achieve the career goals that I'm looking to do in my country. Then they started with the leadership essays. They asked me two questions and to mention two examples. The first one is how I demonstrate my leadership skills, which is the regular question. And then they asked me a question about a situation that I had to I had like a hard decision to do during my work. So you need to be prepared, because they are different, because they may be so specific during the interview. So you need to prepare for like a general question about your leadership skills, like a specific question about a difficult decision or a bad situation that you get through during your life, and you demonstrate your leadership to overcome this. And then they didn't ask me any follow-up question about that, but it depends, because I made sure that I mention everything to be cleared. So I think that there is nothing to ask about. So it's about clarity during mentioning your examples. Then they asked me about my network skills. They asked me how I use my communication skills to benefit myself and benefit others. So we need to make sure to answer every section of the question and not to forget anything, because it will affect on our performance, comparing with other colleagues from our countries. And I advise you to mention in somehow during your networking skills questions how you will benefit, how you will contribute in Chevening community in the UK and in your country after you go back, because they may not asking you about this question specifically. So you need to answer this during your answers about in the question they will ask you about. Then they go to why UK. And I remember they asked me about why UK and what's your top university. And I give them a specific reasons why I want to study law in the UK. Then I went to the first option of my university, and I talked a lot about it. I didn't just focus on the modules or the program. I focused on the module, the program, the activities that the college offer for the international students. I also focused on the workshops that they did in collaboration with the law firms in London. And I also mentioned a lot of things about the city itself and how there is a diversity in this city, and how it's acceptable to have a lot of people from different backgrounds, and the location of the university I mentioned. So I clarified everything for them that make them sure that yes, this is my top option and I'm sure about it. And then they asked me about how study in the UK will help you. No, the question was what's the difficulties in your field in your country, and how studying in the UK will help you to solve that. And it's not about your career goal. I think it's about the long term goals that you are going to achieve in your country. It's not a specific goals, but they want to understand that you have a comprehensive goals to achieve after you going back to your country. And the last things they asked me about my career plan, what I'm going to do after going back, what's my career plan after 5 years from going back to my home. And I remember that I started with my career plan that I want to achieve after going back to my country, because I think like the goals that you are going to achieve after 5 years will not be achieved until you achieve the things that you're gonna do after you go back directly. And I mentioned the thing that I'm gonna do after 10 years. So I have a comprehensive answer, including after the goals that I'm gonna do after I'm going back to my Palestine after 5 years and after 10 years. And then I finished this with linked my goals with the project that the UK is doing in Palestine and or gonna do like after 5 or 10 years. And I linked it with the other goals. So this is my interview in the last year and the year after before it. But it was the same, but the first one, there were a lot of follow-up questions. The second one, there were like a little bit of follow-up questions. So it depends on the panel, it depends on your performance, it depends on your answer. So have a good structure for your answer and be prepared for any follow-up questions. And the last thing that I want to mention is don't be late on your interview. Be like 30 minutes before your interview to be comfortable and to not be late and to stress out. And the second thing is it's an interview, so you need to wear like formal or casual or smart casual, because at the end it's an interview and it will reflect your personality and it will give them a good impression about you. And the last thing that I want to mention, that last year I was in your place and I was hearing the other student who was studying in the UK. So good luck with your experience, and I wish to see you, all of you, next year here in the UK.
Thank you so much, Lana. I really appreciate you sharing your experience, and I remember that you have been last year part of the Global Mentorship Program.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
I'm happy to see you in the UK.
I'm happy to be here today as well.
Thank you so much, and we can move to the next speaker. Yvann, it's you. Go ahead. Floor is for you.
Hello, everyone. So, yeah, I'm Yvann. I'm gonna introduce myself again. And here I'm basically studying art. And basically, during my interview, the highlights of what I did is going to be mentioned here. It's actually my first time that I participated in the Chevening interview. And for me, art was not in the radar. I didn't actually believe that I could get it because I'm doing art, and how can I use art to advocate and to talk about social political issues in my country, and beyond that was the main issue. And when I had the email, I think on the 12th of February last year, that I got selected for the interview, I was so much happy. And yeah, I literally forgot my phone in the bedroom, and I was jumping all over the place. And yeah, so let's start. First of all, I think about the practice and how I did it was because in my professional world, I was always doing a lot of presentations, and it's always been part of me. And yeah, I was just practicing and seeing all the essays that I sent, I mean, a couple of months ago, and try to improve them. That is what I did. I didn't take it textually as I sent it to Chibney and got selected, because over the month after you send your presentation, you have, I think you still have 6 months or couple of months. And during those months, I was able to do other stuff as well to enrich my essay and my opportunity. So I summarized everything up, and I placed it into one document that I was really reading. I was having audio books that I was listening to. I was looking at every Chevening interview online, YouTube, Facebook. On my phone, it was literally Chevening. I even changed my wallpapers on my phone, and it was Chevening, selected for Chevening. I cannot keep calm. I was having it everywhere. And yeah, I was inviting actually Chevening to me. And Maya also, last year I was part of the conference as well online, and I remember sending her a message telling her that if I get selected, I want to be part of this and help people as well. Yeah, so it was all part of the whole experience. So I was really practicing, I was really upset with it. But at the same time, I was keeping one leg inside and one leg outside. I wasn't really thinking about it, but I knew it was there. So I don't stress myself too much. And the second thing that I did also as a practice was I was thinking of a simpler way to talk about me. And I think rather than people using the star, I was using actually the contest action and result, which was more shorter because I wanted to really impress them. Like, I've done so much stuff, and I really wanted to tell them how I'm the best, and I want them to choose me basically. And that was the best approach for me. And it was really quick because I was stressed. I won't lie. I was stressed, but at the same time, when I got into the room, and because they were kind of, I think in Ivory because they were really young. So I was seeing them as, okay, we can be of the same generation, even if we have like 10 years apart, but there's still something that we can try and share and talk about. And I think the atmosphere was very friendly. So when I got in there, we're basically having a chat. And I think this approach was way better for me. And the second part is the story is yours to tell. Basically, it's a story. Nobody can invent or tell you how to say your story. Because if it's true that you've done a lot of things, you have to prove it. And I always say this is to put God first, because I remember like a couple of years ago, even not anything about cheapening, I was still thinking of a way to travel and continue my studies, but I felt like it wasn't actually the time for me. And me getting cheapening now is absolutely the time, and God permitted this to happen as well. I don't know if there are a lot of people that believe in God, but yeah, I think it's something that you must also put on your back mind and try to think about as well. And so during the interview, my answers were really short, as I said. And yeah, so you should try and tell your story as you could as well. And what thing that I did during the interview was that mine wasn't formalized. I mean, they didn't ask me what school you are going to, why did you choose the UK? Mine wasn't this way. So they were just asking like broad questions. So if he asks me, why did you choose the UK? I will tell you about my school, and then I will tell you also about the places that I might visit as an artist, the grants that I'm planning to have as an artist, the people that I'm trying to meet as an artist. And yes, I was adding and compelling everything to show them that, bro, I've done my research. I was able to do my research right there. I'm not trying to play with you. So if you tell me one thing, I'll always try and put another thing to that, and make it more interesting for you to listen to me actually. And the third part was me being a change maker. So how are you going to use your work as an artist to touch more people? And that is basically what I did. I've just told them that I'm not going to do event photography. I'm not going to do photography to have money, but I want to do photography because I have initiatives. I have an impact that I want to help people with. I want to organize exhibitions. I want to organize stuff with communities. And how is that linked to the Chevening leadership values? I think that is the most important part, because they'll give you the scholarship, but yes, how are you going to give back to the Chevening? The Chevening leadership values, and the leaders and the people that are also trying to be part of this, because it's a huge network, and you must also think about that as well. And yeah, speak with your heart. I mean, be genuine, be passionate about your aspirations and how you are always also going to change the world. And you must know that it's not always going to be easy. Even after the Chevening, after you're in the UK, we have our own realities, but it's a huge and beautiful sacrifice to do, because it changes your life basically. So show how Chevening will help you achieve your long-term goals as well. You must learn you must be realistic about this, guys. Don't say in the next 5 years or after Chevening, when I get back to my country, I want to become the president of Ivory Coast. After that, I want to see myself everywhere. Just be concise and really realistic about what you're doing, especially after the Chevening scholarship, how you're going to go back to the country and invest in your base, in your different countries. Be very, very realistic about that. Don't give too many aspirations. They may change. Life changes, but just be realistic and let it be aligned with what you are doing now as well, and how you've also lived your life as well. And I think the last part is my school choice. Explain how your school also aligns with your career plans, and how you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, even 20, if you want to be a grandpa in your career plans. I think you also have to talk about that. And the last part would be to research very well about your universities. I remember during my interview, I even mentioned the name of the tutor that I'm going to have. And I told the interviewer that I know where he stays. And he's like, why are you telling me that? I say, it's because I want you to know that I've done my research right. And yeah, you have to tell them about the tutor. That's what I did. You have to tell them about the course. You have to tell them if your school has different campuses. My school, for example, has 3 campuses. And I told them the campus where I'm going to have my course. So these are the things that are very hidden. But if you tell them these things, they will know that you're really curious and you know what you're trying to do in the UK as well. So that is for me.
Thank you so much, Yvann. I really, really love your speech. I believe if you've been that funny and also meaningful on the interview stage, they don't have any other choice to choose you. So Thank you so much for giving our applicants a motivation and sharing your experience. And I'm so happy I did not remember you from last year, but now I love it more.
You're welcome.
So we can move to our last speaker. And Annie, please go ahead.
Thank you. So as Ali introduced, my name is Njoroge. I'm currently studying at the University of Dundee. I'm doing a Master's of Law in Just Energy Transition. So I was also part of the Global Mentorship Program, and we had like small subgroups where we used to do mock interviews together. So we were also with Lana in the same group, and a couple of us are now here in the UK doing the studying in the UK under the Chevening Scholarship. So it's amazing to now come back and share. So I'm going to take maybe a bit of a different route. I'm also going to talk about my experience as I talk about these things. But I know you've heard a lot about what to expect in the interview, how to answer those questions. And probably you've watched the videos or you have, been participating in this particular webinars. So what happens if you get to the interview and you're asked a question that you hadn't prepared for or a question that you find challenging, which may happen to you, and it's good to know that so that you don't go with a preconceived mindset that these are the questions they are going to ask me and this is what I'm going to answer, because the danger of that is that when they ask you a question that is not in your script, then you're going to be thrown off guard and you may end up messing up even the questions that you had already prepared for. So I would say what to do in terms of preparing for challenging questions or sort of like foreseeing that there will be challenging questions. I think number one is for each of your essays, especially for the leadership essay and for the networking essay, think about other examples that you may use in different scenarios. So for instance, if you may think about, oh, what if I'm asked about, a situation where I dealt with a difficult colleague, or where I've interacted with people from different backgrounds and all that, and maybe the leadership examples that were in your essays or that you want to use as examples when you're asked that question do not fit that particular situation. So just have a draft list of it, and then also think about how you're going to articulate it and have that in your as part of your preparation. But during the interview, one of the things to think about when you're asked a challenging question, and the first thing you may think is like, where does this fit? Is it leadership? Is it networking? Is it a study in the UK question? It's to know that as you go into the interview, those are the 4 things they are marking you on. So the scoring criteria is either a leadership question, it's either a networking question, it's either why you want to study in the UK, the choices you've made for your universities, and about your career plan. So each time you ask a challenging question, think about, is this leadership? Think about it in those 4 ways, so that when you're answering with the same format you would have ordinarily answered any other question, but also being keen about the particular question you've been asked. So I'll use my example. So when I was being asked my networking example, I wasn't asked generally the way I thought I would be asked, like, tell us about what maybe networking means to you, and how you have networked with people to be able to create impact or to build your own professional development. So all my examples, other than the last example, were based on how I met a certain individual, either offline or online. And then through that individual, I was able to access a particular opportunity. And through that opportunity, I was able to sort of like pour back into that person or be able to contribute to that person's work. So it was more from that dimension, but I didn't have one where I was in a situation where I brought people together. So my question for networking was, how have you brought people together to be able to create impact? Which then meant that the examples that I had wouldn't fit that, but it was a good thing that I had thought about different networking experiences I've had, I may not have really gone and practiced them the way I had these other examples, but I had them in my mind. So it was easy for me to be able to think about it and to be able to answer it. But also because you had not prepared to answer through that example as much as, the ones that you have prepared on, one of the best tricks is to pause. Don't feel the pressure to rush into answering immediately in the next second after they have asked. You can take 3 seconds, 4 seconds to pause and reflect that question, or even note it down. You can even ask them to come again and or bring the question back to them and say, oh, so I want to understand the question clearly. And that is you buying time to be able to put your thoughts together. So don't feel the need to sort of like jump into an answer immediately, because then when you do that, you will end up having so many filler words, the way, you may end up saying, and then it will look like you're not unsure. It will look like maybe you're making up the story on the spot. So think about that and don't feel pressure to answer immediately. Take time to pause and reflect. Of course, don't take 10 minutes to pause and so that you can answer, but take a few seconds to be able to recollect your thoughts and then answer the question. And even as you do that, do not forget the rule of showing, don't tell. So don't just tell. Don't, for instance, if they say, oh, have you brought people together, or what do you think about bringing people together to do a common thing? And then you start saying, I think it is very important. I think, that you're telling it, you're not showing. So everything, even if it's a challenging question, think about an example you can tie to that challenging question, so that then you're showing. In terms of tying your academic goals to global sustainability, and I think this will even apply for any career. So I noticed, and in my few interactions with maybe the current applicants who are doing maybe courses on environment or global, or these big issues that are currently here, so if it's climate change or technology or things like that, one of the dangers is for you being very general and saying that you want to be able to impact people and to change issues to do with climate change. When you think about it, that is very general in its sense. So when you're thinking about any problem that you want to solve, think about specifically what the role that you want to have in your career. Be very specific. So for me, I knew I was doing the energy transition, and of course it ties to climate change and all that, but I was very specific that my passion lies in ensuring there's energy access for marginalized communities and there's energy equity. So throughout my examples, and even as I was concluding my essays, I was going back to that thing, so that then it shows you're very specific in how you're going about it. And even in your career plan, be very specific. Don't just say, I want to work in an organization that does XYZ. Have a specific organization, have a specific position that you want to work in, have a specific thing you want to accomplish in that position. And then for each career plan, then tie it back to Chevening. How is you being a Chevener how is it going to help you achieve your career goals? So for instance, for me, I had said one of the things that I wanted to do in my midterm goal is to work with energy regulatory agencies across Africa. And I said that by virtue of being a Chevener, I would have interacted with Cheveners who are passionate about energy access, and I will be able then for us to come together and bring these people together because of the Chevening Scholarship. I talked about what the FCDO was doing, and I linked it to the different in my immediate plan, my midterm plan, and my long-term plan. So be very keen about that. And then also, as you think about why you want to study in the UK, some of you maybe have professional experience already. You have an academic qualification that relates to your master's degree. So how do you answer the question? Because one of the questions that you may be asked is, why do you need a master's? So think about the capacity gap that you have, that I may have all this experience, the 2-year experience, I may have academic qualification, but I have this capacity gap that I want to fill, so that then I may be able to achieve this particular goal. So think about that and be able to articulate that. And when you're talking about your modules, focus on skills. Don't focus on I'm going to learn about XYZ. It's great to say I'll learn about XYZ, but talk about how will learning that particular thing tied to your career goal? What skill will it give you to be able to achieve what you're going to talk about in your career goal at the end of the day? And then on that, on the second point, I think also think about the UK focus. And for me, I don't know whether it was my preparation, but I realized that I had really focused on what the UK was doing in my country. So what the UK was doing in Kenya. But what I hadn't really, I knew, but I hadn't like given much thought was what the UK was doing in the UK in my field. So I knew there were leaders in my field and I knew like very generally, but that was the question I was asked. So it wasn't like what the UK is doing in my home country, although I mentioned it in my career plan. It was what the UK is doing in the UK. And what really helped me is that being in the field, I was accessing like, what is it called? Like maybe Financial Times, The Guardian. There was some work I was doing that was enabling me to read these particular materials. And and as they asked that question, I remembered an article I had read and where they were talking about how they are facing coal and how they are greening their grids and things like that. So then that really helped. But I was wondering if I hadn't had that access, then it would look like I don't know what the UK is doing. So find out what the UK is doing in your field within the country. Are there plans they have? Are there strategies they have? Have that at your fingertips, so then you're not caught off guard at the end of the day. In terms of standing out, I think one of the key things is if you have professional experience in the field that you're applying your master's in, leverage on that, lead with those examples. You may have other leadership examples, but lead with those. So for instance, for me, my first two examples were in my professional field, but my last example was based on my own personal ventures, like on social media and all that. But I didn't talk about that in my interview. I only talked about those that related to my professional experience, because then at the end of the day, it shows that you're already in the field. So you're a great partner to have. You're a great partner for Chevening, for you to be in partnership with, because you're already in the field. You already have networks in the field, and so you're coming to add up to something. So if you have the experience and knowledge related to your field, lead with those examples. And as the previous speakers have said, own your story and believe in your story. If you don't believe in your story, no one else will be able to believe that story for you. So you have to be convinced about your story so that you can be able to convince them. And also think about Chevening, as I've said, as partners. Don't think about it as they are out to get you, or they're out to sort of make sure you don't succeed and they're grilling you. The panel, as based on my experience and the experience of other people I've had, are very friendly. It's not confrontational. So think about them as partners. They want to know more about you. They want to know, can we get into a partnership with you? Because that is what you're getting into, a partnership, because they see you as a leader who can be able to maintain the UK, your country, like for me, the UK-Kenya relationships afterwards through your career plan. And so it's like they're creating partnerships with you for now and for the future. So think about it as if you're entering into a partnership conversation the way you would when you're doing a project with someone. Think about it that way. And that ties to on the confidence issue, because then you're going to treat that interview as a conversation. You're not going to come with preconceived ideas. I will say this, I will say this, I will say this, or cramming your answers, because then you, at the end of the day, you will forget things and then it will destabilize you. But if it's a conversation, even in conversations, you pause. Sometimes you even tell them, oh, there's something actually for me, when I was talking about my study in the UK, I remember for my first option, I talked about the modules, the lecturer, what I'll visit, and I forgot something that I thought was so important about the Center for Energy and Petroleum that is in our school, and it has existed since like the 80s, and what the kind of work that they actually do. And when I was in my second example, I remembered that. And because I wasn't like in a part of like, oh my God, I've messed up, I just told them, oh, and by the way, there's something very important that I missed that I think it's good that you know about. And I went back and they all smiled. They were like, oh, okay. And so because I was very relaxed and I wasn't like thinking like, oh, I've messed up now, because when you think you've messed up, then you won't be able to calm down and bring back. I would have messed up that choice as I was talking about it. I would have messed up my career plan question, which is not a good thing. So do that. Feel free. It's a conversation. They know there's pressure. So take it as that. And finally, in your final day prep, know when to stop. Don't be doing your mock interview the night before. your interview. Don't do that to yourself. So I would say even 2-3 days to don't do any mock interview, recollect, think about things, and then you can frequently, maybe you think about a question, maybe look up or something like that. But the night before, just relax and think about, oh, tomorrow I have a partnership meeting. This is what I'm going to dress. This is what I'm going to do. So that then you're not putting so much pressure on yourselves. Charge if you're doing online. So for our country, it was online. So charge all your devices, have backup. Don't anything that is within your control to do so that you have a seamless interview, do that. If you need a notepad and a pen to note the questions, especially when they ask 3-part questions. So have it on your side to be able to note that down so that you don't miss any part of the question, but also know that they are happy to repeat the question. They are happy to clarify the question for you. So don't feel like you're on the spot to be able to understand the questions immediately. But also don't be asking for clarification, okay, throughout for each question they ask you, but know that there is a leeway for that. Yeah, so that's it for me, and I wish you all the very best. The fact that you have been shortlisted, it means you're Chevening material. If they had all the money, like if money was not a problem in the world, I think all of you will be Cheveners right now. So think about it that way and approach it with confidence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm always like, whenever a speaker like in our panels finish their speech, I'm like, I envy guys because you are like potential Chevening scholars and you have a chance to listen this kind of a brilliant experience that our Chevening speakers today, like alumni or fellow Cheveners, has experienced. And again, thank you so much for your commitment, for sharing your experience. I'm more than sure that they have noted a lot of brilliant tips that you share for today. And after the interview stage, they will be so thankful and they will realize how helpful it was, because when I was an applicant and my mentor saying some advice, for instance, reading your essay, I was like, but I already know this essay. So after I went to the interview stage, but I listened to this person because I knew that this person was already experienced. So I read my essay, but I don't realize what was the purpose for reading my own essay that I wrote. But yeah, I mean, I figured it out at the later that it gave me confidence. It gave me opportunity to be and say what I wanted. So I hope that today's session was also helpful. Can you please change the next page on the... Yes. So this is just like a kind of motivation for you, as this is our last session. And after this slide, we will have your favorite question A slides, and you all will have opportunity to ask question to our speakers. So just wanted to say that this is a good experience for me personally. The interview process was the best experience and my lovely time for my Chevening journey, because it's the time that you can shine. You can talk, as my colleague mentioned, to just has a conversation to another part or like second side who are interested in you, to see how you're shining as a leader or how you coming back to your country and doing the amazing job in your field and help your community. So take this as a chance. Don't stress yourself a lot and don't look at it as a like exam or like some of like a lot of people on my Instagram page texted me like, oh, unfortunately, English is not my first language. I'm sorry. English is not my first language either. And most of us who got Chevening, like English is not our first language. So don't stress yourself. This is not exam. It's just a conversation about you, about your story, about your leadership and networking. So just this is a time to shine. And I hope to see you next year as a Chevening scholar. And I'll be happy to see you as a panelist as well. So thank you again. And let's move to the question I slide. And okay, you can raise your hands and our brilliant speaker will answer your question. And okay, I have seen first hands. It's Rua Go ahead, please. And it's a last session, so please just directly ask us the question to cover all raised hands that we will have to the participants. So go ahead.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
We are good, thank you. What's your question, Rua? Go ahead,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Can you hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
There is okay. There is a question they ask about what is the leader or the leadership mean to you, or what is the leadership concept, or how would you defend the leadership? What I should tell them, an experience that I had in my professional or volunteering activity, or just a title. What is the best way to make them understand my leadership style?
You can choose also the speaker that you want to receive the answer, or both, or three. Lana also is here, so like three of the speaker are free to answer.
Okay, I will answer this question. From my experience, they asked me this question as well. They told me, what's the definition of good leader and bad leader from your experience? And they asked me in the same question to mention an example that I demonstrate our leadership skills. So my strategy to answer this question was I mentioned the example that I demonstrated a leadership in, and according to the leadership skills that I demonstrate, I give them a definition of the good leader and the bad leader. And I remember that I was focusing on how the leader could be a supportive in the team, and how they so by answering the question, the definition of good leader must reflected in the answer that in the example that you mentioned about the leadership skills. So I think it may be acceptable, but from my point of view, it must be reflect the leadership skills that you demonstrate in your mentioned example. That's my answer.
Thank you, Lana. Eru, you're the next one in the list.
Hi, my name is Iram. I'm from Pakistan. So my interview is coming in the 3 days, and my question is that I have selected three different courses. My question is that if any of the alumni here present has faced the same situation as mine, and how did they justify this in front of the panel in their interview? And what advice would you give me to make a strong case in justifying the situation? Because I heard it in a Chevening head interview. She was saying that it is not advisable to have three different courses. More or less, your courses should be similar. The three preferred choices should be similar. So mine are three different courses, and I'm kind of confused how to justify this situation. Thank you.
Maybe as a follow-up, so is it like maybe you can say what courses are they and why do you think they are different? Maybe is it the title or is it the content?
Okay, so my first choice is MSc Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Management. Second course that I have chosen is MSc Digital Marketing, and the third course is MBA International Marketing.
Yeah, actually think they are related. I don't think they are different. I think one of the things, in my opinion, I think when Chevening says similar courses, it doesn't mean similar title. So if it's like, for instance, for me, my first choice was low carbon just transition. My second choice was international energy law. And the third one was, I don't remember, but the titles, if you just look at them, they may look different. But when you look at the content or what is being taught and how I'm demonstrating the kind of skills I want to gain, then you definitely see whether I take the first, second, or third, then I will end up with the same skills that I wanted to gain, and I will end up doing the same career plan. So I think what you can do is think about each of the courses, look at the modules, see the ones there's a relationship, so that then your story has like a flow and it shows it's the same thing. So I don't think they're different, and I can see there's marketing. I'm not sure, but perhaps your career plan is around maybe marketing and entrepreneurship. So just constantly talk about your theme. So when you're talking about the module, say this module, I'm going to learn the skill that will enable me do X, Y, Z. So what it will enable you do, let it be consistent throughout your courses, but I don't think it's significantly different in any way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to add a little comment about your question. Yeah, I mean, my courses also has a little different change, like slight difference in when it's come to the title. But then I found, yeah, as my colleague says, like what was the common that was linked to my career plan. So I was talking about this, but as far as you are on the second stage and you are in the interview stage, that's mean that Chevening panelist, High Commission has already see a potential in your courses, which was a link to your career plan. So don't overstress yourself and just be yourself and like talk truly why you wrote this particular or what courses or why you really want to study these particular courses. So Mariam, you're the next one. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm the next. Thank you for the comprehensive presentation. And I have to ask you something. They will ask us all about our personal statements, yes, as I know. And can you tell me how many minutes we have to use for answering one question? 2 or 3 or longer, because my personal statement is not so short to answer in 2 minutes. And please describe this as you can.
I just have one question, Mariam, to you. Do you mean like about your essay, or like what do you mean when you're saying about the personal statement?
Yeah, I think I said this.
Okay.
My essay.
I'll take this question as you're from Georgia. So
Yeah.
I wanted to say that it's mostly like different in each country. In Georgia, it was in my cases, it was a 30 minutes. Last year, I have been a panelist. We had an interview maximum 40 minutes, but also 20 minutes. So it's depending on the situation and depending on the process of the interview. So if it does not have any meaning if it's long or short. It's just about sharing your experience and your approach. So it's totally like, don't panic if your interview lasts long, like 40 minutes, and your mate's interview is 40 minutes. It does not mean anything. It's just about your approach or how you answer your question or how long the panel will engage to you. So about your first question, so the interview will be separated by different topic, like, but it's all cover your essay, and they will focus on your leadership, your networking, why you want to study in the UK, and your career plan. So like basically all the interview process is ongoing to your essay, that regarding your essay that you have written already. and it's gonna be like the question gonna come from this 4 main topic that you already mentioned to the essay stage.
Sure.
I hope that I covered your question. So if you have more or follow-up question.
Yes, thank you very much for your answer. And if you can answer me, I have to answer with the same facts as I already mentioned in my essays, or with different facts, which would be as interesting for me as the facts I have already mentioned in my essays.
Yeah, I mean, also the panel, like the speaker can answer this question. Like, guys, you can take which one you like. It's for free. Which one you?
I don't
Yvann?
think you have to make it complicated. And I mean, there's been some time now. I mean, after you send your application and the time that they respond to your interview, maybe there are some activities that you were able to do that you haven't mentioned, or because there's a time frame. I mean, there's word counts in your application as well. You weren't able to mention everything that you were able to do. So this is the opportunity during the interview to make them bluff, actually, to seduce them by your application. So you have the time to elaborate on stuff that you were able to mention or not mention, and mix that up and make it make sense at the same time during your interview.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yvann. You, Mariam, finish, or do you have more question?
Yeah, I have one question again. Also, can I make a presentation or something else?
Do you mean a PowerPoint or something? No. It's a kind of like a friendly interview that there is a panelist, like 3 or 4 people, mostly 3, 1 alumni and 2 person is working in the UK embassy, in our case in Georgia. And yeah, I mean, it's a conversation.
Of course. Okay. Thank you very much, both of you.
So Ahmed, go ahead, please.
I'd like to ask about how UK will benefit from choosing me as this scholarship. So if we give you the opportunity, how can we benefit from choosing you for this scholarship?
So just for clarification, your question is how Chevening will help you to achieve your goals?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how can I add to their community of networking?
So guys, you can
I think maybe for the first part of the question, how UK will benefit, you need to look at your career plan and see ways in which it relates to what the UK is doing in your country. And so talk about how you are going to collaborate or like foster those relationships through your career plan. So find a way to do that. So for instance, I'll use an example. For me, I think either in the medium term or in the long term, I talked about what the FCDO was doing with some of our agencies in Kenya and within the continent. And I talked about how in the position I'm going to hold, then I'm going to foster relationships between them and the ministries and other entities to be able to do these things because they're already doing it. FCDO is already doing that. So I'm going to be a link in that way. So sort of look at your career plan, look at what the UK is doing, and because at the end of the day, the greatest, the benefit that they get is to be able to have the UK-Kenya relations and to have leaders in different positions who can be able to foster those relationships with your country. So if it's how the UK will benefit. But I think the second part where you talked about how your community is going to benefit. I think it goes back to what's your career plan and how do you intend to benefit your career, your country through your career plan. And you have to know whether what you want to do, is it a solution to an existing problem? And what is that problem that you want to come back and solve after you do your master's?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will just go to the next person, which is Parnian. I don't know if I pronounce your name correctly. Please go ahead. If you are speaking, you're muted, so you have to unmute yourself. We did not hear you. Okay, next hand in my list is Kuda Makombo. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Maya, for your time. And thank you, everyone. So my question is about, okay, I had already put it on the chat box. So I was asking if I can ask the panel to change the order of my options, like for the courses that I've picked. And then also I want to ask if I have a rejection on one of the courses, should I go ahead and apply another school, or should I leave it like that and just rely on the other two that I already had offers on? Also, is it necessary to, let me see. Okay, so like if it's necessary to apply another school because one of the schools is I have a rejection, is it necessary for me to apply another course even if I have unconditional offer from other schools? And then okay, maybe I can ask all of my questions and then you can answer. So another question that I have, it's still on the courses. So when I was applying, I didn't use the Chevening course finder to select my courses. So I just knew the course that I wanted to do and the schools that offered that course. So I just put that on the application. And then I realized that one of the schools, like the first option, is not a partner with Chevening. So I'm wondering, should I change the course even if I have the offer? Or should I just go ahead and explain it during the interview, explain the course, or what should I do there? And then the last one, I think it's still, let me see, I just typed it. Give me a moment, please. Okay.
Yeah, can we answer?
Another one is
because it's a long one and maybe we just miss some of the part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I will start. And in this topic, I always say that it's a sensitive topic to change your course or not. And my colleague might have different experience when it's come to changing university. I have been one of the applicants who did not listen to my mentor, and I still, even though that I had 3 unconditional offer, I changed my one of my choices. But Chevening High Commission did not accept for my changes. So it was requested to change, but at the end, they did not change my university. So I just accept the choices that I had because I knew that I wanted to go to University of Glasgow, even though that I wanted to change my second choices in the application. So changing university is kind of risky, and during the time that when I was an applicant, I did not really realize this risks. And what I mean is that so you have almost 3 months to choose the university, make a research, write the essay. And when it's come to the interview stage, it's mean like, and you are going and saying like you want to change the university, the panelists may sometimes have a kind of like a thought that you are someone who are not sure what she or he want to study. So because like you had already time to research, time to write your essay, and like you are on the stage just because you have written this kind of essay, right? And if you are going to change your university, it's mean that you have to change also why you want to going to the UK part, right? And I mean, I don't know what you have written in your essay, but in my essay, I have written this second particular university, I want to go X, Y, and Z. And one of the main reason was a course. So if I'm going to change this, it's mean that I'm changing my approach or my main reason why I wanted to go this particular university, right? So if you have already some offer and you are sure that you want to go in these particular courses, you don't have to apply for other universities. Only one offer is enough for Chevening, but sometimes just have this in your mind. Sometimes they like the university don't have enough students and they are postponing these particular courses for the next year. So I knew the Chevening scholar that she has a three universities that, and all of the three university cancel her course. I mean, she has been with me as a Chevening scholar because the Chevening gave them opportunity to choose and apply for other universities. But it was like, it's not happening always, but if it's happening to cancel your courses, Chevening only give you the chance if the all three choices canceled. So just to have, like, to be safe, apply for 2 universities at least. And if you have one or two offer, one is already enough. But if there is some emergency cases like I mentioned, you will be safe at the end. I don't remember which question I skip. And again, I ask speakers. They might have different experience when it's come to changing university. So feel free, guys, to share also your experience, because I know each Chevening scholar has different approach when it's come to give you advice to change your universities.
I can add something about my experience. I remember in my first interview, they asked me at the end of the interview if I want to change one of my option. And my first option was University of Glasgow, and I mentioned a lot about it, and I'm interested to study in it. And as it's my top university and my top option, then when they asked me about changing the university, I said, yes, I want to change my first option. I think this is one of the reasons that why I didn't get the scholarship in that year, because this gave them reasons to reject me and
We did not hear you, Annie. I think, yeah, I don't know if you mute yourself.
Yes.
Oh, Lana, yeah, it's been you. Yeah, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Okay, so I will repeat from the beginning. Okay, during my first and second interview, I mentioned that I want to change my options. In the first interview, I had a mistake because I mentioned why I want my first option, which is University of Glasgow, and then they asked me if I want to change any of my options, and I mentioned that I want to change my first option, and this gave them reasons to reject me because it's about being sure that you want these options and you want to study in these options. So like talking a lot about my first option, then asking to change it doesn't make sense. And in the second interview, I asked to change my second option in my in the universities, and they changed it, and it was appeared on the portal and on the application. But at the end, I went with my first option. So it doesn't matter if it's about having a conditional or unconditional offer, because as Maya mentioned, that if the university will not offer this program this year, you must have another option to go with, especially if you submit your conditional offer or unconditional offer in July for the Chevening.
Yeah, thank you, Lana. Yeah, I agree. I missed this part, the last part especially. You had some question. I think we skipped some of them. I don't remember. So if it's something left, please go ahead.
Maybe I remember one of the questions she asked. Sorry. I think it was about Chevening partner schools. I don't think there's no problem for you not choosing a Chevening partner school. The reason they do that is because once you get the email that you've been selected for Chevening, the Chevening scholarship, you're going to sign what is called a conditional award letter. So when you sign it, then they go and approach your school. So you sign the conditional award letter that you send to them, and also you send your unconditional offer. So they are now going to approach the school, because when it's a Chevening partner institution, the institution will pay 20% of your school fees, and Chevening will pay 80% of your school fees. So it's sort of like, telling them there's this person they have selected, and we want 20%. And once the school agrees, then they do your final award letter. So it makes maybe that process easier, but there is no problem, because they will still reach out to even those universities in a way, and they will figure out a way. It's good to have a backup of a Chevening partner institution in case they don't, but I've not heard of such situations. So I don't think you need to worry about that. If it's a university you really want to go to, don't withdraw it because of that. It's good to have other offers, as you have been told, just in case they say, oh, they are not doing the 20%. But I've not heard of such a scenario where it's like, oh, they didn't do 20%, and so we are not going to sponsor you or something like that. Yeah, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, I don't think you should, because the schools that I chose, my first choice, for example, wasn't part of the Chevening partner, and that is why I got. You just have to, if you have a school that is quite interesting, just be able to send them a mail and tell them that you are applying for Chevening, and if there's a possibility for you to be in their school, basically, they'll respond frankly as well, and nothing is stopping you from sending a mail to the different schools that you want.
Okay. That's really helpful. Thank you so much. I think you answered my questions. The only thing that I had that I also left behind was if one of the courses I got rejection, so I can still leave it even if I have offers from the other two, right?
Yeah, and also, like, it's just my advice. Don't mention on the interview that you got rejected from one of the universities, just because the Chevening High Commission fully trusts the UK universities about offers, like when it's come to academical acceptance. So they don't even request you to have IELTS exam or anything. So don't mention about rejection. If they ask you if you have offer, just mention you have offer from this X and Y and Z university, and the rejection, the one that you got rejection, you just say that you are waiting for answer.
Response.
You applied, but yeah, you are waiting
Okay.
for the response.
Okay.
Or you can tell them that, after doing your research after the interview, before the interview and your research that you've done, you figured out that those schools don't align well with your achievement, rather than telling them you'll be rejected. I don't feel like telling them you'll be rejected is more aligned with you. My example, for example, when I went to the interview, I told them that I had only one conditional offer, and the other ones I was still there, like you were still bargaining. And what I told them was that, yeah, they responded to me, and like my interview was on Monday, so I told them they will send me the unconditional offers on Tuesday. So don't get that approach, but yeah, just be confident.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. If you finish, the next person is Felix in my list.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Felix, go ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
Hi, Maya. Thank you very much, and thank you all for the great insights. I have a question also regarding the course choices. My first choice was the University of Edinburgh, where I selected climate change, finance, and investment. The second one, University of Exeter, sustainable finance and climate change, and the third one is Heriot-Watt University, sustainable finance with fintech. Now, what happened is the University of Edinburgh, they said they will not process my application because I was not able to pay the application fee. But according to the choices that I had, it was the first choice, followed by other two universities. For University of Exeter, I've gotten an unconditional letter. The same with Heriot-Watt University, my third choice. So the question is, if in the interview they asked me to talk about why I want to study in the UK and the reason for my course choices, is it advisable that I speak about University of Edinburgh as my first choice, even though I know very well that I won't get any letter from them. My application did not go through. Yeah, or if they ask me the question, can I raise my concern and then talk about the two universities and an additional university, which I also have an unconditional letter, University of South Clyde, Sustainable Finance. I hope you understood my question. Thank you.
Felix, it's quite similar to the last one that we were talking about. So they don't know your story behind applying the process of in different universities, right? So on the interview stage, you have to be best version of yourself and don't show them your weakness. So if the University of Edinburgh did not open or allow you to go through the application process, but you still have unconditional offer from different universities that you want to study, just be focused about this. They don't know if you applied yet or not. It's totally up to you. You mention it or not. But again, you have to be best version of yourself. So show them your strengths and be focused about what you achieve already. So the unconditional offer that you hold is already something that you can speak out loud about it. So if I understand your question correctly, it was about if you need to mention about Edinburgh University or not, right?
Yeah, if I'm supposed to talk about it being my first one, or if they give me a choice to change later on, will it affect me if I tell them to take University of Exeter to be the first choice, which currently is my second choice?
I mean, it does not matter. Is it your first, second, or third choice? They don't really care at the end of the day. After you will be awarded for Chevening, they will ask you and you will confirm for them which university you want to go. And does not matter in which stage or which option you will go, right? So if, as I understand, you already have an offer from Strathclyde University, so be focused about it if you want. But if you want to talk all of you have to find a comfortable way to prove that this is the right time for you to go and study in the UK, and this is the right university or courses that you really need right now to go and study to answer your gap. So I hope that my answer was more or less cover your question, but my colleague, if you have some advice to Felix, please go ahead.
No, I agree with you, but also I think I don't know, the last time, because I applied to Edinburgh last year, but it was for a different program altogether, but they didn't have application fees. I've not known them to have application fees. So maybe but I'll check on that and find out also. So you can recheck that in case you really want to go to the University of Edinburgh. But yeah, what Maya said is totally true. It doesn't matter and once you're selected, you have the option to now choose where you want to go.
Okay, that's understandable. Thank you.
Hernian, go ahead, please.
Hi. I've heard about the question where I need to explain my experience in failure in leadership. I don't know how to approach this question, and I would greatly appreciate any advice. And also, would you please explain the most important features that we make sure we give details and reflect in our experience for networking? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Annie, I think you were talking about the first question on your presentation, right?
Yeah. I think in terms of failures as a leader, maybe think about where you had like a difficult situation. It doesn't mean like complete failure, like now you are not a leader anymore kind of thing, but it's like it's normal as a leader. As you do whatever you're doing, you will encounter challenges, or sometimes you will try something and it doesn't work out. So think about any example that you have that relates to that. I think what they are trying to find out from this question is, number one, are you able to identify your weaknesses as a leader, and are you able to grow from that? So for instance, when you say, for instance, like if I use an example of there's a time, I think one of the examples I had prepared was like there's a time we were helping a certain community to be able to reclaim their land back through like the court system and all that. And so we went ahead with our normal processes, but there's a process that we weren't doing previously. So we skipped over it, and it really costed us in terms of getting a remedy for this particular community. And so then I reflected on that and said, so then that made us not be successful, or I not, be successful because I was leading it, not be successful. But as a result of this, then I was able to include this process as part of what we do. So it's first of all showing that you understand that it's not always you're successful all the time. So you encounter problems, but at the same time, how are you also are you going to like grow up, from that? Yeah. So don't just say I experienced this problem. What did you learn from it, and how then did you use those learnings at the end of the day?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was so helpful. Unfortunately, I was a bit late, and I was going to ask if the slides could be shared, or can we access the slides?
So we will post a recording session on our YouTube channel, and the link you can see on my IG, which is like my Chevening journey, or on our Facebook page, which is like Global Mentorship Chevening, and on the screen you can see the screen.
Thank you very much. And I had another question about networking. I would greatly appreciate if you had any comments.
Could you please repeat your question? I'm sorry.
What is
Go ahead now. Yeah, it's already on mute. I'm sorry.
Okay. What do you think that are the most important features for networking that we should give details in our examples? I mean, I know the time is limited when we are talking about our examples, but I just wanted to know that what are the most important ones that we make sure we show that in our examples.
Lana, Annie, if you want to answer, feel free. I know that Yvann already left.
I can answer. Actually, it depends on your example that you mentioned in your essays, because communication skills are different from like me to you. In my examples, I remember that I mentioned that I have a very good communication skills to hear and to I remember that I mentioned a problem in like a company with the shareholders. I remember that it's about the leadership of the company and how I was trying to solve this problem with making these people listen to each others and to understand the problem and to find a way to solve it by communication for more than 6 months. So it was basically focusing on communication and listening, my communication skills, and how by solving this problem, I I was able to benefit this woman to lead this company, and how I benefit my cousin to work in this company by using my networking skills with this woman to employ my cousin in her company. So it depends on your example and how you demonstrate your communication and networking skills in the interview. This was my experience. So I don't know. It depends on what you mentioned in your essays.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was really helpful.
Maybe just to add a bit in terms of like networking, I think the most important thing is to show how you initiate networks, how you're able to sustain them and use them to create impact. So think about them in that way, and also tie it back to how, by being a Chevening scholar, you're going to use your relationship or your networking skills. I think in that way, and tie it back to your theme, your underlying theme and your career and how that relates. But I think when you do that, then you'll be able to answer that.
Thank you very much.
Tango, you're the next. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Maya, for organizing this mentorship program, and thank you to all the mentors for your dedication. It is really making this whole process a much more easier for us as the future Cheveners. And I've got a question to Lana. So as you mentioned, you were interviewed 2 times, and could you please share your experience? What was the main difference between your first and second interviews, and what kind of improvements did you make?
Okay, so basically, in the first interview, I was so stressed during the interview because they started the interview asking me to mention a leadership and networking and communication skills example, and like another example not mentioned in my essays. So I was not prepared for that, and this affected on the whole interview. I was stressed the whole interview, and even I was prepared very well, but asking me these questions and not giving like appropriate answer for these questions, I think it ruined the whole interview. And there's another aspects, because as I mentioned, they asked me if I want to change my options at the end of the interview, and I mentioned that I want to change my first option. And previously I was talking about my first option and how it will help me to achieve my career goals. So as I mentioned, it doesn't make sense to talk a lot about your first option. Then you said, yes, I want to change it because it feels like I'm not sure what I want to do and where I want to study. And I think these things affected on the results of my interview, and they rejected me at the end. But in the second year, I was very prepared. I did like 5 mock interview, and Naya helped me to do that. Thanks to her. I did a mock interview with some alumni and people from my field, and this helped me to be prepared. And I was like, the process was known for. I was like, I know the whole process and I know how the interview will go. So I was prepared very well. I did 5 mock interviews. I covered all the questions that they may ask me about. And the last thing, I was not stressed during the interview. I was comfortable, even though they forget my interview date and my interview time, but that didn't affect on that did affect on me, and I was not stressed because it's my second time, and whatever the result will be, I will accept it. I will accept it because I did the best, and that's it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Lika, you're the next one. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maya, and other alumni as well for your dedication and these amazing meetings. So my question is regarding answering the question about the courses. How do you suggest? Should I speak about all 3 choices or just specifically focus on the third choice? This is the first question. And the second question is about this applying for several times. For now, I'm applying for third time. And my question may be specifically to Lana. Lana, how do you suggest? Should I just speak and tell the panelists? Of course, they should know this, but should I just mention that I'm applying for more than once and emphasize that this is, for example, a strong part of my characteristic, for example, of my personality, that I'm motivated and I know that I want to be a Chevening scholar in the future. So these are my questions. Thank you.
Actually, I didn't get your question very well, but if you are asking if you want to change your first option, first, if you want, when they ask you what's your options, I think you need to clarify the most about your first option because it's your top option.
No,
So
Lara, sorry, I will just specify. So my first question was, should you suggest that we speak about all 3 courses when
yeah,
they ask us
okay.
about? Yes.
Let me answer
Okay.
question by question. So for this question, it depends on the time. I remember during my interview, I talked a lot about my first option, and then I started with second option. Then they stopped me. So it will not affect on your result because I mentioned a lot of information about my first option, and this gave them an insight that yes, yes, this is my first option, and I'm sure that I want to go to this option. That's why they stopped me at the beginning of my second option. And a lot of my colleagues from Palestine who's Cheveners now, they had the same experience. So don't worry if they stopped you. Just talk a lot about your first option. If you are sure that you want to go to your first option, and don't worry if they stop you. But if you want to change your first option, one of my friend who's Chevener now, during her interview, she was applying for Manchester University, and then she applied for UCL, and she got accepted at UCL. And she mentioned before, she didn't wait at the end of the interview till they ask her if you want to change your options. She started with I want to change my first option from Manchester to UCL because I did I did a research about the 2 program, and I found that like UCL program is more practical than theories, and Manchester program was more theories, and that didn't align with my goals. And she started to talk about UCL, and that's how she changed her first option without asking, or it just got smoothly. So I don't know if I answer you on your first question, and please give me your second question.
And the second question was to you specifically because you were chosen on your second apply, as I've understood. So this is true in my case as well. So I'm just asking, should I mention this as a strong part of my personality, for example? Should I emphasize this part that I'm applying for more than once? So how did you do? What was your experience?
In my interview, it's different because they forget to ask me if I want to change my second option. That's why I send them a follow-up email, and because it's the only chance for Achievener to change the options of the university. So they must ask you during the interview if you want to change your option. That's why I didn't mention my second option that I want to change in the interview, and they forget to mention it. So I sent an email, and they change it on my application. But if you want to change it, you need to demonstrate, and you need to clarify why you want to change it, and to clarify the reasons behind changing this program to this university to other university. So it depends on the reasons, because I remember when I sent an email, I clarified that the reasons that I want to change my program, my university to other university, and I talked a lot about the modules, the program, and because the whole options was in London except the second one, and the university that I want to change was in London as well, so it was making sense to have the whole option in London. So I don't know what's the reason behind changing your second option, but my experience was a little bit different.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to add some comment regarding your question. Sometimes I have been chosen for the first time that I applied for Chevening, but I of course have some alumni or some scholar that has been went it for the interview stage for a couple of times, and as I know for mentioning them their experience, like some of them has mentioned that I applied last year as well, but as a committed leader, because it's very essential for me to get the UK education knowledge, I'm applying again, and I came to the second stage. So they somehow make a link as a strong leader, how dedicated they are to study in the UK, and the first time rejection has been affected their strong desire to study in the UK. So in this regard, you also can mention this kind of experience. But also last year, as I have been a panelist, I had experienced that like second colleague of mine who has been also panelist that time, she recognized the applicants, and she was like, oh, I remember you also has been last year with me for the interview stage, so it's happy to see you again. So it's nothing wrong about it to mentioning that you has already passed this first stage and you are familiar of the interview stage, or you has been already there. So depending on how you use this situation to benefit your application process.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so we have left 2 questions. And we will officially finish in 8 minutes. So Hardik, go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you so much for this session. I'm Hardik, I'm from India. Many Cheveners told me that in India particularly, they only give 20 minutes. They only take 20 minutes to do whole interview. And I'm a slow speaker. I take time to build my story and give background and then speak. And so is it a problem that if I speak slowly, I'll not be able to tell everything which I mentioned in my essay, and it's just 20 minutes interview?
Yeah, it's hard to speak about your country's experience because it's a really different approach in different countries. What I just advise, just be yourself and speak how comfortable you feel yourself, or to being a confident. And I'm sure that they will try to like catch up the time, because in my case the interview was online and they have been late 10 minutes, so because they stuck in a previous interview. So I'm sure that they will find a time, 10 minutes extra for you if they have more question for you. But yeah, try to practice more to like be comfortable in your answer, to answer a little bit like an intense or not be rash or something, but be yourself and the confidence. So yeah, again, I don't know. I just give you the general answer just because I don't know the situation in India. And in my country, when the applicants need 10 minutes more or to finish, or like if they have more question, they allow to have it like 40 minutes as well. So it's depending on the country situation. And I don't know what experience my colleague has.
Yes, may I agree. Like it depends with the country situation. So I think for Kenya it's 30 minutes. And actually my interview I took 15 minutes. And I didn't know like yeah. So when other people would hear that, they will be like, what do you mean? And I actually said, I don't know why I took 15 minutes, but I didn't let that bother me that much. But I didn't have any follow-up question that I was asked other than maybe one, which was very short. So I think it varies. And, for instance, if I took 15 minutes and then someone else took more, they will just recover the time. Just don't be any other person other than who you are, because then you won't end up being your best self.
Thank you. Mubashir Amin, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for the session. And I would like to say that I was a reserve candidate last year. I have some general thing to say that at the end of the session, what 3 to 4 tips you may advise in order to improve one's performance in the interview, number one. And number second, I would like to know that if we are sharing some volunteering activities in the question, like what are we going to do in UK besides academics? So is it necessary that those volunteering activities should align with your studies or your career goals, or they can be random? Thank you.
I answer your second question because I've already I also put some kind of extra curriculum activities in my speech when I was on the interview stage. So I researched a Chevening website, and I knew that Chevening organizing some different activities for the fellow Cheveners. So I mentioned on the interview stage that I want to be a volunteer because on the year that I was applying, they have a treasure hunts. It's called kind of like a game for the it was a game for the fellow Cheveners, and I said that I wanted to be there as a volunteer to be part of the Chevening community, and I mentioned this in the YUK part. So when they ask me, why do you want to study in the UK? After I mentioned my academical experience, I add at the end that the main, also one of the extracurriculum activities that I want to do, and it's encouraged me to be a Chevening scholar, is these X, Y, and Z activities that I wanted to do. And one of them was about the volunteering. That was not part of the academical like studies. It was extra curriculum activities that I wanted to do in the UK. So yeah, remember that it's not only like, it's not a traditional interview. This is more like a conversation. So of course you can mention any kind of activities outside of the academical part, like extra curriculum that you want to do in the UK. So course, you're free. I don't remember your first question, and if you repeat, my colleague will answer this question.
My first question was in the general sense that I was a reserve candidate last year. I asked that before the end of the program, can you advise some 3 to 4 tips which should be considered generally so that one's performance in the interview is one can perform better by following those general tips. Thank you.
I don't know if I got it correctly. Is it like general interview tips?
Yeah, I also lost the connection in your question. Could you please repeat the question? I'm sorry for the technical issues, but I also cut up your first question in the middle.
The first, it was not particular related to any essay or component. I just said that I was a reserve candidate last year for Chevening 2024. And I said that at the end of the program, can you suggest some 3 to 4 tips or points which one should keep in mind in order to improve the performance in the interview? Thank you.
Yeah, it was a general question. Yeah, I got it. Like I just have a question. Like, have you been on the session from the beginning? Because our speaker already shared their experience. So I will post this video on our YouTube channel, and you will be able to go back and like watch the whole session. And yeah, I will also put the link on the chat. Because it's already we're time out, so I want to give the chance also the other participants who are like raising their hands. DN, so I have seen your hands. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for the session. My question is, I have already applied in University of Manchester, and I got my offer letter. And now it is saying that the deadline to accept the offer letter is 18th of April. And like with the how to deal with that kind of situation, like because I haven't got the final decision of the Chevening scholarship.
Yeah, I will also take this question. In my cases, also University of Glasgow has a deadline of paying your university fee in April. I screenshot my interview invitation and I wrote in the Word document explanation that I was a Chevening applicant, that Chevening will send the answer in like mid of the July. So I kindly asked them to postpone it, the offer, and they are already familiar of Chevening, just for like to contact with the admission people, or like in my cases, I submitted this document. I transferred it as a PDF file and I submitted this file on the portal of the application. And they just postponed it. Or like I know my friend, they contact with the admission team and sent the interview invitation letter. So it was quite helpful for her as well to postpone it, the also university fees.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, Maria, do you still have a question or you left the raised hand?
No, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Tell me, what would be appropriate attire for the Chevening interview? Could you give me some advice for it?
Lana, can you please answer?
I didn't quite hear the question. Could you kindly repeat and we'll respond?
Mariam, could you please repeat your question?
Yeah, of course. What would be appropriate attire for the interview, for the Chevening interview? Please, can you tell me some advice for it?
Yeah. Is it like what to wear during your interview, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
classes.
appropriate attire. Yeah, I think um first of all, make sure you wear something that you're comfortable in, especially if it's like a physical interview. Even if it's an online interview, something that you're comfortable in. I would say you could lean into official, smart casual, but don't be too casual in how you dress. And then just something that you feel comfortable in. So don't wear maybe shoes or things that you ordinarily wouldn't be wearing, because anything that makes you not to be comfortable will just interfere with other, your ability to be able to articulate yourself properly. I would say that if you are doing an online interview, please make sure, like, of course, your top part, like you have like a very, like, you can even have like an official top and an official coat or something like that that shows that it's official. So don't just come in like with a normal t-shirt and all that. It's not like written anywhere, but for interviewers, if they see you, with just a t-shirt, or like they just see it's as if you woke up and just showed up for the interview, it really tells. So their first impression of you is also really important, but don't just go being uncomfortable in how you wear, so that you're comfortable throughout the interview.
Thank you so much. That was our last session.